Welcome to the After Church Show with Greg and friends. God bless you. God bless you. We're so happy to be with you today. We're live in the studio at WXSL Street Legal Radio, and we are broadcasting live. I've got my partners with me as always. On my left, I've got my man Massey in the building. What's up, Massey?
What's going on? What's going on, everybody?
Yeah, brother Massey's back after a vacation. We'll get to that in just a second.
Yeah.
But on my right, as always, I've got my sister Kai Nicole in the building. What's going on, Kai?
And I'm black, y'all. Like
That's my joint.
Hey, y'all.
Like you did in the video.
Good afternoon, y'all.
Oh, my goodness. It is live, man. It is live today. We were in the studio. We already in a good mood. Honestly and truly, we are. We were in the studio off air, just tripping, just talking about things that that make us laugh. So, as always, if you want to catch up with us, though, get on Periscope because you get to see some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. You get to see how we have fun and geek out a little bit, and some of the things that make us laugh before we get back on the air. But it's a pleasure to be here. I'm glad to have my crew back with me today. We've got a few things that we're going to be talking about, some serious things that we're going to be talking about. But first and foremost, we want to make sure that we talk about what's going on in the news, the things that's happening today in today's news. So, hey guys, I was watching the news this week, and if you don't know, and if something's wrong, it would be something wrong with you. If you don't know, the Republican National Convention happened this week. So the Republican National Convention happened this week, and they have officially decided to elect Mr. Trump as the Republican candidate for the presidency. So I found that to be very interesting. I know people have been saying a lot of things. You know, it's a lot of pros, a lot of cons. Some people are for, some people are against. And whatever your political view is, it's yours. I respect that. I have nothing to really say on that because we all have the right to have our own political views in this country. That's part of the beautiful thing about our democracy is that we do have that power of choice. But what I found interesting, I saw an interview, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but I saw an interview that Roland Martin did with Pastor Darrell Scott. I don't know if you guys, the guy who had the 100 black pastors meet with Donald Trump several months ago. So Roland Martin finally got his hands on him, so to speak, and he was able to conduct an interview with him. And it brought about a question in me, and here's the question. Because I'm not gonna, again, I'm not gonna disrespect anybody or talk about them because of their political views. We all have the right to have our own political views. But here's the question: if your pastor is open about his political views in the pulpit, that's one thing. Because some pastors do that.
Right.
I don't personally agree with that, and I don't think that that's something that you need to discuss over the pulpit, politics that is. But if your pastor actually talks about and speaks about his political views in the pulpit, and they just so happen to be contrary to yours, how do you deal with that man? How do you then, you know what I'm saying? How do you deal with him knowing that he differs in opinion from you? You think the sermons might be a little suspect then? Some of the things he may say, you might look at it with kind of a jaded kind of eye because you be like, oh man, you just a Democrat or you just a Republican.
Right.
So what do you guys think about that? Because it was interesting to watch this pastor just completely throw his support behind this man, and we all know from watching the news the types of things he said and the types of sound bites that we have on this person. So it was just very interesting to see. So what do you think about that, man?
That's kind of hard. It's kind of hard because you want to respect. Well, the theory is we say we want to respect people's, who they're voting for, or the party they align with. But in reality, you don't want to. Me personally, I don't want to support anybody that's supporting foolishness. Anytime a man can be on that type of stage and say, there goes my African American right there.
Yeah. Or call people just racist and murderers.
Everything.
Or say
to females.
I'm afraid of the blacks. I'm afraid. Like, what does that mean?
Right.
What does that mean? So, for my pastor to get up and say he supports Donald Trump, that's kind of hard.
It's a tough cookie.
Because now I'm looking at your character when you're supporting somebody who has flawed character.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
you're seeing he shows you his ignorance.
Sure.
Well, that's
Right.
another reason why he's winning, because he's not politicking. Donald Trump is
Right.
saying, "I want to do this. I'm going to do that."
Yeah, I'm
But-
ignorant and deal
right.
with it.
But
That's
to-
basically that should be his platform. That should be on
Right.
the campaign side.
right.
I'm ignorant, deal with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Deal with it. But to hear my pastor vocally get up on the pulpit and say
Yeah.
he supports Donald
It's
Trump,
tough.
that's a tough cookie.
It
Yes.
is.
What do you think, Kai? 'Cause
It's-
I mean, it
it's
had me
hard.
twisted a little bit.
First of all, I don't know how he's lasted. I'm pretty sure Donald Trump is wondering how he's lasted this
Yeah.
long. He was like, man, this is supposed to be a joke. I ain't even supposed to be here.
He probably goes home and
But-
looks in the mirror. and be
Like,
like,
look at these idiots.
Right.
After what I said, really?
Right,
But,
I'll hit with this one next time.
Right, but as far as my pastor supporting him, it would be hard for me to let him have his views, because I would be like, come on, man,
Yeah.
this ain't right. This is wrong. He talking about building walls and kicking people out and sending people back.
Right.
I'm telling you now, if I gotta get on the boat, y'all better not say nothing to me on the way back. Don't say nothing to
Don't
me.
say nothing to
But
me.
that would be hard to agree with that. That's hard to agree with.
Yeah.
Ignorance,
'Cause
because
I-
that mean you
That's
ignorant
what it is.
as ignorant as he is.
Right.
So it's like if you throw yourself behind that, then it's like, you know, when you sitting there preaching about equality and love and all these different
Mhm.
things, and I'm just sitting there looking at you like,
Yeah.
oh,
Right.
okay, because it would be kind of
Mhm.
difficult. You know what I
Right.
mean? So you know that's just part of what's in the news. And another thing that we saw this week happen was, and this one is sad in many ways from a lot of different angles. We can hit this from a lot of different angles, but it's very sad in my eyes. This Florida man was shot by a policeman this week, and he was laying on the ground with his hands in the air.
That's right.
And you know, a false call came in saying that there was someone who had a gun.
Mm-hmm.
It wound up being an autistic man
Yeah.
who had a toy car.
Yep.
So if you know anybody with autism, or if you know anything about autism, it kind of it's difficult for them to concentrate in highly stressful situations. So you know, he was sitting on the ground and he was moving back and forth, and he had a toy car in his hand, and the officer decided in the heat of the moment to fire his gun, which now they say was he accidentally shot the victim who was laying on the ground. But it raises a more important question to me, because this transcends, because the gentleman that they claimed that they were actually going to shoot was not African American. I'm not quite sure what his race was, but he definitely was not African American. They said that the officer said he was actually trying to shoot him, and it's like, well, dude,
Right.
even if that was your intention,
The dude is autistic.
he was clearly rocking back and forth. You know, he had a car. I could see the car in the video.
And
So-
they put him on the ground as well after they shot. His name is Charles Kinsey. After they
Yes.
shot Charles Kinsey, they put the autistic guy on the ground with him,
Yeah,
which
so-
made it worse.
So I mean, you got to start thinking about this from the perspective of, okay, there's really a lack of training as it relates to several different aspects of what a cop does, because in that situation they didn't know how to de-escalate it clearly.
Right.
In that situation they didn't make the right judgment call, because there were two innocent people
Mm-hmm.
that wound up being either scarred emotionally or physically because of the choice of this officer.
But did you hear what the guy said? Charles Kinsey said he asked him, "Why did you shoot me?" And the officer said, "I don't know."
I don't know. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
You don't know why you
have
shot
to-
the
Oh,
guy.
you know why.
You have to
You
have an
shot.
answer.
We've been
Well,
hearing that for 200 years. I don't know.
we can
300.
certainly
300.
speculate. We can certainly speculate as to why. If we look at all the examples that we see around us, we can certainly draw to an obvious conclusion. Not to say that is the conclusion, but it is eerily similar. I'll put it that way. The situation is eerily similar. But even if that's the case, I mean, if somebody gets a call for a gun, this is what happened with Tamir Rice. You know, and it's like, when are these guys going to get trained? And I know it has to happen in a flash. And I'm not disrespecting the job that officers have to do, because it's very difficult. And I'm not going to sit up here and play couch quarterback and try to make a call in a situation when I'm not in it. But there has to be better training for these guys, because the mistakes are costly. We could have just as easily been talking about a guy who died,
Right.
Yeah.
as opposed to a guy that
Again.
got shot in the leg.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it just it's kind of sad.
And the crazy part is, as he had his hand up laying on the ground,
Mhm.
he was yelling at them, telling him, he's autistic, and like
He
it's
was.
like they didn't even believe him.
He
Well,
said
they
he was a
they
mentor.
said they couldn't make out what he was saying, but the video,
Right,
from somebody,
right.
the video was very
You
clear.
can't make-
And they were behind the police.
And they were behind the
Right,
police, so
right.
it's like, well,
Come
on,
on.
come on, son, you
And
couldn't
that's-
hear none of that.
That goes back to the training. Like it needs to be an overhaul training of from the 911 operators, because all they're doing is operating to the police officers.
Sure,
Someone
but
called
they
and said-
relay calls.
Right,
I mean,
right.
that's what they do. Somebody
That's right.
calls them and tells them something.
Right.
They relay the information.
Right, but it has to be some type of change where it's like, okay, I call and I say, you know, I saw somebody with a gun. So automatically the officer, you like, is there more training 911 has to do? Are you show us a gun? You know, what, something that's pulling out. So when the officers come, their first thought isn't gun. This
Right.
guy is an autistic man with a toy car.
Dude, it was a car. It looked like a fire truck. That's what it looked like to me.
And still he shoots, and then the bad part is he was a bad shot. How you aiming for this man and you
Exactly.
shot me in the leg?
No
Right.
compassion.
Now you
at
need to
all.
go back
So,
to the
so
job.
now
the
that there's
shooting range.
right, you got to be trained on how to shoot better.
Right.
I mean, it's a.
But it's just another sad incident, and the biggest part is these officers that just will not support. Like when stuff like this happens,
Mhm.
more officers need to come out and say that was wrong.
Definitely.
We
Indeed.
apologize.
We
That was
apologize.
wrong.
That was wrong.
Even if you work for a company, any of us work for a company, you got to represent the company right. If something falls down or something goes bad, you represent the company.
Absolutely.
We apologize.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing with officers. It's like they won't stand up and say, you know what, this is just wrong. And the ones that do, they get shut out.
Sure.
The
Sure.
other officers look at them saying, oh, you turn your back on the boys in blue and all that. No.
And that's a
I'm standing
legitimate
up for
fear.
right.
I mean, you got to
Yeah.
think about that too.
I
If
know
you-
somebody
if
that
you,
happened to.
if you're a policeman and you know if you speak the truth, drop down on somebody, and you know that the repercussions are possibly somebody won't have my back when I go into a hostile situation. It'll make you think twice. I
Right.
mean, it would make me
Definitely.
think twice. That's just like
Right.
think about like football teams and stuff like that. Man,
Mhm.
if the quarterback ain't cool with the offensive line, good day, sir. It's gonna be a problem.
Oh, it's a video of two officer linemen after he caught Hut stand in their position.
Yeah.
He got rocked.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like, hey man, so you gotta be smart. I mean, we're not saying like with all these situations, we understand that police officer's job is hard.
It's difficult. Man.
They go into a lot of situations that we don't know about, domestic situations where
Yeah.
officers have died in the line of duty trying to help.
And that's why I have such a problem sometimes when people, they're too critical
Right.
because you ain't doing nothing. I mean, you in your cushy office job, sitting in the watching the replay of something on the computer screen. You're not out there with a hot pistol in your
Right.
hand and bullets whizzing past you. That's not what you do. So it's,
Right.
you get
It's bad apples everywhere. And
Sure.
the biggest problem is not just the officers, but we have to get the right people in office, the right people in the Senate, and
That's
all
right.
that, because
Yeah.
these people that are passing these laws, most of like you look at the Freddie Gray case, people are mad at Marilyn Mosley. You can't be mad at her. It's the judges that are letting these guys off.
Yeah.
Like she did her part. So we got to look at the legal system too and try to figure that one out as well.
system overall is probably what's
Yeah,
what's
but I would love
needed.
to see what happens in this case. I mean,
Well, I can tell you now. I'm gonna use my I'm gonna use my prophetic gift
okay.
and tell you what's gonna happen.
What does the Holy Spirit tell me?
He gonna walk.
It's gonna be an apology issued by the county, by the state. They're going to assure us that training will be done to make sure that stuff like this doesn't occur in the future. They're going to cut my man a nice little check. They're going to give him a hush clause in the middle of that so he can't write a book or say anything or do anything outside of that. Cut him maybe 2.5 or something like that. Sorry for your inconvenience and go
Right.
back home.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my prophetic gift
No
right
book,
there.
no book deals, huh?
No book deals. You can't even talk about this
And
later.
honestly, sadly, he'll be lucky to get even that much.
Yeah, he wouldn't get a book deal.
I'm writing a
anyway.
book called Hands Up, Don't Shoot.
Hands up, don't. They shot me in the leg.
His hands are literally up though, right?
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
literally. My
Right.
hands up, literally.
That's
don't
a good
shoot.
title.
He was doing crutches.
Literally
Come on
don't shoot.
now.
Right.
Too much. So it draws the question. Some pains too hard to let go. People have pains and issues that they go through that are oftentimes too hard to let go of.
Yep.
It's difficult when you experience pain in the death of a loved one, or if you experience pain wrongful death or terminal diseases. You get a diagnosis rather for a terminal disease. Some pains are just too hard to let go of, and I'm happy that this is part of our conversation today, because we have someone that's visiting with us today. Ms. LaQuisha Hall is here, and she's an award-winning philanthropist, inspirational speaker, and author, and she's dealt with a lot of pains in her past that she's had to overcome, but now she's an advocate for those who are dealing with that type of pain themselves, and we're privileged to have her here today. She's going to come in after our break and speak with us and talk with us about all that she has going on. It's a very gifted young lady. I encourage you while we're on break to go onto her website and check her out. It's laquishahall.com, LaQuishahall.com, and see all that she has going on. We're going to be interviewing her and talking with her over the next couple of segments, and we'll get into one of those questions. Are some pains too hard to let go of? And in the interim, I'd like you to go to our fan page as well, the After Church Radio Show fan page, because we had a question of the week this week, and the question was, the damage of sexual abuse once brought to light can be quickly and easily dealt with through prayer and a forgive and forget attitude. So we posed the question, do you agree with that or not? Majority of our listeners that tallied in on the poll disagreed, and some disagreed somewhat. And we've got a couple of interesting comments that we'll be reading on the air as well. So sit tight. We're going to take a break. You're tuned in to the After Church Show with Greg and Friends. We're live on WXSL StreetLegalRadio.com. You can hear us on www.streetlegalradio.com, or you can download the app in the Google Store. You can also go onto our website, theafterchurchshow.com, and you'll see a red bar across the top, and you'll get all of our social media information. You can also join the show that way. And be sure, if you want to see what's going on inside the studio, to jump on Periscope. We're live right now, theafterchurchshow.com. And also, you can jump on Ustream under Street Legal Radio, and you'll get a live look into the studio. So we'll be taking a break. We'll be right back. Thanks for listening. See you in a few minutes.